If at any time you Zoomers are having trouble hearing me, would you let me know? For those of you on Facebook, you might need to actually turn your volume down because I'm wearing a microphone for you. Welcome to Strong and Slow Flow. We're going to prioritize our hips today. And the more I think about that, the more I think that really any yoga class, we're primarily working the hips. But one thing we can just do to and even enhance that experience is just to pay attention to what's going on in your hip in all of those various movements. So whether it's, hey Dorothy, whether it's hip flexion or kicking back behind you, or maybe our rotations that we're gonna do, just really observe how you can kind of dial in your mind's attention on that area of your body, even if you're doing it the same way that you always do it. Hope that makes sense. Okay. We're going to start with just a little bit of stillness. You can make yourself comfortable in a child's pose or a kneeling pose. If you're sensing any restriction around your hips, you could bring your hips up over your knees in your child's pose and maybe just come to your forearms. And we'll spend a little time on our breath, making any changes that feel right for you right now. Noticing how your breath experience can influence your physical experience. Connecting to any sounds you hear with your breathing. Maybe keeping them pretty soft and subtle, but sometimes I like to make that little whispering sound in my throat just 1 or 2 times. And then let that go and just make it soft, quiet, supportive. If you're in child's pose, you're going to walk your hands over towards the right and stretch on your left side. And if you're in this kneeling shape, just bring your right hand down towards the ground and come into a side bend like that. If you're in the kneeling position, be sure that you can kind of keep aware of your neutral spine curves without turning this into a back bend. So a little bit of shortening of the space between your pelvis and your lowest ribs. And then we'll go the other way. Switch your child's pose stretch to the other side. And then we're going to come back to a neutral tabletop position and start to shift your weight from side to side. And then make some little circles. Splay out your fingers, imprint the main knuckles of your palms into the ground. And then find a neutral position. And let's start to tuck and untuck the pelvis. Feeling that little stretch in the low back perhaps as we tuck under, and then maybe a sense of the front body or abs stretching as you lift through your tail. Let's turn this into a full body cat-cow. Let that wave of extension pull your heart forward as you think of dragging your hands backwards. And then tucking around your whole spine as you push your palms forward and down. Let's do just a couple more like that. Feeling your spine move one segment at a time without rushing through. After your last set, let's come to the forearms. Give the wrists a little break. You can interlace your fingers if you like that. Send your right leg out to the side and squeeze behind your right knee. And then take your leg behind you and try not to dip in your low back. We're just starting to work through a portion of a hip car. Angle your knee back out to the right and bring your toes towards your midline so you're finding that external rotation. And then kick your leg back, toes high, finding the glutes. 2 more times like that, just these 2 movements, out to the side like fire hydrant, and then back behind you, kicking from the seat. Last one like that, out to the side, and then back and up. And now we'll come into that tuck, so draw your thigh nice and close towards your chest, and then send it back just a little ways, not all the way, and internally rotate your thigh bone. Your toes are going to kind of point out to the sides. Now we'll simplify those 2 movements. Tuck in with the thigh. Reach back a little and internally rotate. Go for 3 more of those. You might notice that your shoulders are getting just a little fatigued. Do your best there. Stay broad in your upper back. Hey, Julie. And then you're going to take a little rest and give your shoulders a rest. So that could be child's pose or that upright kneeling position again, whichever is better for you. Come on back to your forearms. Well, let's do the same thing with the left leg. So we're starting with the knee nice and tight behind you. Take your left leg out to the side and reach back to extension. Prioritizing that good hip nutrition without trying to move from the spine in any way. Let's do 2 more like this. Try not to sink the chest below the shoulders. And now move on to the tucking and that inner spiral of the leg as you take it back. Kind of that awkward movement there. Hopefully it's getting more familiar as we practice it. Try for 3 or 4 more. Notice how your breathing maybe it's changed a little bit. It's cool. Stay connected to it and use it to serve your practice. Let's retreat back to a little bit of a rest. Childs or kneeling, same. And then we're going to practice kind of a dynamic warm-up for the ankles, knees, and the hips all at the same time. So you're going to start in a high kneeling or a low kneeling. So Jeremiah, can you demonstrate in the high kneeling up like this, like camel pose? Yeah, take your legs a little wider. And I'm going to sit back like this. So the idea here is to drive through the seat to come up to where he is and then step forward with your right leg and let your knee shift a little bit forward. As you let your knee shift a little bit forward, think of dragging your right heel backwards. Now you might not want to go this deep, that's cool. And as you push off that front foot, you're going to try to sneak your leg back behind you and sit back down. You don't have to sit back down. You could stay up like that. Let's try it. We'll go back and forth. I'm not going to cue this too much because I think you can sort it out. You might have to swing that leg out to the side a little bit. But remember, the driving forward, you need to use your hip flexors to pull up, just like you did on that hip car. And there could be a little bit of wibble wobble. Just keep switching the legs, right and left, right and left. Connect to your backside as you lift up off of your heels to step forward. And then connect to your hip flexors as you try to get that leg back behind you. Let's do 2 more on each side. Use a little momentum if that helps you gain some control over this. Last set. Beautiful. Let's take our down dog and now open the backs of the knees. Send your hips high for that beautiful spine stretch. Wiggle, fidget, do what you like in down dog. Maybe here we can sense a little stretch on the high hamstrings where they connect to your pelvis. Maybe even the glutes feel a little stretch here. Reach your arms strong overhead. Let your heels be heavy. And then let's walk our hands back to our feet. The feet can come out wider. Let's take a dangle over our thighs, deepening your hip creases. Fold your spine. You can sway, pedal. Walk your hands back out. Come to a plank this time. Think of pulling your hands back to your toes. Powerful glutes here. Let's try to float the right leg up. Keep it straight for now. Dial your toes out, external rotation, just like you did on the forearms, and then tuck your knee forward towards your arm without lifting your hips. Creep it back, step to plank. Maintain stability through the trunk. Lift your left leg, float it. External rotation of the hip, and then tuck, squeeze without lifting the hips. Take it back, downward dog. Lift your heels, walk yourself forward towards your hands this time. Feet about hip width, come up halfway, lengthen it out. Strong seat, and fold over your legs. Rise to stand this time. Use your back side, reach up. Side bend right. Nice, tall spine. Breathe into the middle. Side bend left. Reach through the middle again, breathe in, and then hinge through your hips and fold over your legs. Come up halfway. Fold, step back to tabletop, but don't lower your knees. Keep them hovering an inch off the ground. Try to level out your spine. Find a sense of pulling with hands and toes, and then sweep your right leg out like the fire hydrant. Pull it into your elbow. Sweep it back into extension. Angle it out. Pull it in. Keep your knee bent as you reach back. We have one more like this. Hovering hip cars. Oof. Set your right toes down. Take your left leg out to the side. Balance the pelvis. Tuck it into the front. Reach it back. Kick from the bum. Pull it out. Pull in. Reach back. Can you do one more? Toes tap. Hips go high. Let's stretch the down dog. That song lyric was perfect. Just as I was about to lose it, it said, "You got it. You got it." Walk your hands back to your toes. This time we're going to roll up segmentally. So bend your knees, push the floor away with your feet. Think of tucking your tail, keeping your pelvis rocked under as you stack your spine one vertebra at a time. Raise your arms overhead when you get to standing. Take a side bend to your left. Back to the center. Side bend to the right. Reach overhead. Hinge and fold over your legs. Walk it out to a plank. Float the right leg. And then tuck it in straight to the chest without cat pose. 2 more on this side. Kick back. Tuck in. Find that hip flexion. Last one. Shorten the gap between thigh and trunk. Step back, down dog. Hips go high just for a breath. Relieve the shoulders. And then come on back. Plank 3 knee tucks without flexing the spine. So we're not going for cat pose here. Everything stays straight. 2 more times, tuck, squeeze. Last one, kick and pull. Downward dog is your next stop. Lift your heels, tiptoe or hop feet forward. Lengthen on your inhale, feel the work in the backside. Fold forward. Rise this time. Let's do one more set of side bends. Doesn't matter which way you go first. As you forward fold, we'll step the left leg back. Runner's lunge, right knee over the ankle more or less. Think of scissoring your legs together. Pull your heart forward, maybe a little lift of the gaze forward. Straighten out your right leg a little or a lot. Lift your toes off of your mat. Try to keep your rib cage and your right thigh connected, even if that means not going as straight. Rebend your front leg. Let's open to a twist, right arm high. Breathe in. Exhale your hands to the floor, straighten out your right leg again. 2 more like that. Rebend and twist. Exhale, we float the toes. 1 more time. Beautiful. Optional vinyasa here, or you can just take it to down dog. For those of you that want to flow, let's pull all the way to the ground on this first one. Untuck your toes, roll your heart up, and lift your hands at the same time. Come all the way down, and then take an up dog or another cobra if you prefer. Fire the buns, and then take your hips up and back. Stretch. Make it to the front of your space. Let's take a chair pose this time. Bend your knees, set your seat consciously down towards your heels. How do you want your arms? Soften around your neck, but reach through that outer armpit area. Light in the toes, heavy in the heels. Fold forward. Step your right leg back this time, runners. Think of lifting your chest slightly, so a little bit of a cow pose or a cobra. And then lift your toes as you straighten your left leg any amount. As you rebend, we're twisting open. That'll be an inhale. Exhale, a little straighter leg, toes high. Twice more. Find your rhythm. Final rep. Let's find a plank after that one. Pivot your heels right and your toes left. Side plank variation. Back to the plank. 1, 2, or 3 push-ups. They could be half push-ups. Plank, toes to the right, heels to the left. Stagger your feet. Raise your right arm, side plank. Coming back. Plank pose to down dog, hips go high. Right leg will lift, and this time we're allowing the pelvis to open to the side. So right foot feels like it's reaching up and over towards the left. Maybe you can take a peek underneath your left arm and spot your toes back there. And then contract your glutes and really close the back of your knee. As you shift towards plank, lift your left heel. Try to kiss your knee, this time bringing cat pose into that hip flex position. Inhale, reach your right leg back. Keep it bent. Find that scorpion tail. Exhale, shift and tuck, knee towards nose. 1 more time. Opening the hip. And then closing the hip. Stay here in that plank tuck. Step forward. Lift your sternum. Reach your arms out in front of you or off to the sides. We're dragging our right heel back to stand up on your right leg. Arms can do whatever. Left leg out ahead of you. Without going into a full eagle, you're just going to squeeze your inner thighs together as you sit into a baby squat. Rise up to stand. Tuck your left knee behind your right knee like a little curtsy. Stand up again. Left leg over the right, squeeze, inner thighs. Stand up, be buoyant, tuck back. Left knee behind the right. Chair pose, step forward. Both feet connected now. Energize all the way through your fingertips. One more breath. Hinge and fold over your legs. Step back to a plank. Optional flow from there. You can do some of those tucks to work on your hip flexion, but that's where we're headed next. So we don't need to overdo that, right? Okay, take a moment and breathe. Breath might be coming a little faster just because of your effort. Keep your right heel heavy for now. Take your left leg up and then reach it over towards the right. We're bending into that left knee, squeezing behind there, finding our hamstrings. This will be our inhale position. And then, of course, that exhale is the shift and the tuck into plank with that rounded dome back. 2 more times. Go slow. Be in that in-between. Open. Tuck, shift, pull. 1 more time. Last one, really coil in on that front side, find your core, step forward. So we're dragging that left heel backwards, float the arms any direction. Stand up on your left leg, right leg comes out ahead. I'm gonna do something different with my arms. I had them behind my head last time. You could do anything you want. Stay heavy in your left heel, like you're gonna sit into a chair behind you, bend your knee, and then cross and squeeze. Stand back up all the way to hip extension, tuck behind. Let's do it again. So it kind of feels like a portion of our hip rotation that we did earlier. Squeeze and tuck. And then we're finding the chair pose once again. We're gonna stay bent in this right leg. Everything stays the same right here. Left leg's gonna pull up and in towards the trunk. Stand down and switch sides. Good, stand all the way up, reach your arms over your head. As you exhale, fold down over your legs. Bring your fingertips to the floor. Walk your feet back a little bit. Bend both knees and try to stretch your seat both down and back so it feels a little bit like you're going to come to chair pose, but your hands are going to stay on the ground. Spread out your toes. Lift them. Connect to your foot tripod. The big knuckle of your largest toe. Same thing on the pinky toe side and then the center of your heel. Lift your hips a little bit. Keep that foot tripod. Straighten your knees a little bit. Keep your hands to your blocks or to the floor. Kick your left leg behind you like you're going to come into a warrior 3 so your legs look like an L. And now we're going to pull from that left hamstrings to bend the knee. Squeeze behind your left knee. Let's rotate the left hip in a full rotation all the way around. Keep your knee bent. I'm going to come out of my right hip a little bit by taking my hands to my blocks. It's going to give me a little more space. See if you can imagine that your pelvis is staying level and not tipping open to the side. Go the other way 2 times, rotate. Last one. When you finish that, we're stepping the left foot back and preparing for the warrior 2. So set your feet how you like them. Come on up. Adjust as you need to. Trying to drive the right thigh into external, rotating so that you can still see your big toe on that front foot. Let's reverse the warrior. Stay low in your lunge, side bend, stretching on both sides. More up, less back. Side angle. Here, let's try to give ourselves a little bit of resistance. Press your arm into your leg to open it, but then give your arm a little bit of a hug with your leg pressing back. Rise up, reverse the triangle pose. On your exhale breath, take your hands to the floor and find your flow if you want it. Down dog is our meetup spot. Tiptoe, hop, or step to your hands. Option to use your yoga blocks. First, bend your knees, drop your seat. Seat about as high as the knees, then lift all 10 of your toes, find your foot tripod, and then just let your toes rest without gripping the mat. Start to lift your hips higher as you open the backs of your knees. Keep pushing into your foot. Lengthen your spine up a little bit so you have some space there. Kick your right leg back about as high as your hip. Bend your knee, squeeze. Rotate 3 rounds, clockwise, counterclockwise. Level pelvis best you can. Just like we do when we do it on the floor. Reverse it. Slow and muscular. No rush. Last couple. Step back with your right foot. Set your foundation for warrior 2. Come on up. Fine tune it. Put the work here in this outer hip to pull your knee off to the side more, and then roll your right ribs back slightly. Looks good. Reverse it. Stay committed to the depth. Put the length in the spine. Vertical reach, and then we'll take it to that side angle. Press. Arm against the leg, leg presses back gently. Extend your right knee all the way straight so that back leg is really firm. Reverse triangle. Another stretch. Hands to the floor, your version of the flow, or a downward dog. Right leg high this time. Breathe in. Step it forward any way that you like. Rise into a crescent this time. Whatever you want with your arms, because this is a hip class, so the arm position doesn't matter as much. Okay, so we're gonna take a spin on that first little crisscross that we did, but instead of crossing like eagle, we're gonna try to step the left foot forward and place the heel or the ankle on that right leg. Keep the bend in the knee and step right back to a crescent. So those 2 movements, we're gonna do a few of these at your own pace. How slow can you go? Does changing your arm position benefit you in any way? You can try out a few. Let's try for 3 more if we can. Front heel, think of scrubbing it backwards. Put the weight in your heel, not in your toes. Last couple. Really open that left leg out. Last one. Warrior 2 is our next stop. Step back. Ufta. Side lunge left. Open up towards the long side. Pivot your feet. Bend your left knee. Stay higher. Get a little lower. Goddess. Toes out, heels in. What do you want to do with your arms, and how does that affect your spine position in relationship to your pelvis? A little lower. Let's go just 1 inch out of our depth and then sink back down for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. You ever get the feeling you bit off more than you can chew? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stand up, pivot your toes so that they're facing straight ahead of your heels in neutral. Hands to your hips. Squeeze your buns for a second just to feel the front of your hip opening. And then you can keep some of that engagement to help control your descent. Small movements leading you into a wide leg fold. The easy thing to do here would be to let gravity pull you down. Resist that just a touch. Find your depth. Take a few breaths and notice how things change if you shift the weight in your feet a little bit front to back. When you press your ball of foot into the floor, notice how that might light up some sensations on the backs of your thighs or calves. We're going to start to turn the right toes forward and walk our hands back to the front so that we're in a lunge. So a nice low pivot. Left hand to the floor. Heel toe your right foot towards the side of your mat. Come onto the outside edge of your left foot. Side plank variation, but with this right leg in a kickstand. That's it. Okay, so here's the idea. You're going to either stay here if this is already a lot of work. You're going to work some version of a side plank. If you want it a little bit more, we're going to think of pressing straight down with that right heel as we pull the left leg up to our chest. 5 times. Oof, that's it. Last 4. The more you can push with the right foot, the lighter that left leg's going to feel. Last 3, 2, and 1. Keep that leg externally rotating. Down dog or vinyasa if you have any gas left in your tank. Take a breath or 2 in recovery. Find that nice long spine stretch again, heels heavier. Let's stretch the left leg up. Step it on forward how you like and find your crescent lunge. Maybe just observe that the feet are on a train track stance rather than a tightrope. That's going to give you a little bit more stability as you start to find that dynamic balance. Standing, but staying in a squat, crossover, tap, step back. Try to make it super light and quiet. Foot tripod still connected. Lightness in the toes, as if you could lift them if you wanted to. Let's try for at least 3 more. Final one. Warrior 2, step back. Reset. Side lunge right, pivot, and then bend into your right knee. High or low, doesn't matter. Goddess pose. Actively pulling your legs away from each other. Arches lifted, toes soft. Find the bottom of your range, the one where you can just barely sustain it. 10 little pulses up and down. 9, 8, 7, slower and lower. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. 2 straight legs. Pivot your feet now so that your toes are pointing forward. If you have a towel or you want to bind your hands, you can reach back and get that bind. And then still use the glutes to counteract the effect of gravity bringing you into that forward fold. So stay connected back there. Hinging deeply through your hip creases, using that effort in the front side to pull you down. And balancing that with the control of your back side. Release the bind if you have it. Turn your left toes to the front. Runner's lunge, just for a moment to reset. And then the right hand's your foundation as we start to wiggle this left foot. Just heel toe it about halfway down the side of your mat so you can really push into that foot as part of your foundation. If this is good, we stay. If there's more to be had, we're using the left foot to ground and pulling the right leg in, stepping back. You have 4 more. Try not to move anything else but that right leg. 3, 2, last one. Beautiful job. Plank, vinyasa, or a little rest. And then let's all just take a short break. I need to dab my sweat. Holy cow. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm breathing really heavy, but I suspect that it does. Okay. From the kneeling position or child's pose, we're coming into that 90-90 low lunge. So the hip and the knee on that left side are in alignment, and the knee and the ankle are in alignment on that front leg. So fairly neutral lines throughout. The pelvis all the way through the crown of your head. Let's reach the left arm high. Keep squeezing your tush on that left side and side bend to your right. Come back through center. Notice how the shift of balance changes when you try to side bend to your left now. Maybe a little bit more glutes necessary. Rise up, two arms reach overhead. Cactus your arms, take a little curl back here. Great, arms up. And then arms can either go out, forward, or back. You're gonna hinge your spine, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. So it's like a diving forward crescent. We're gonna take this into a warrior three with a little bit of an add-on. So keep your right leg bent for now. And then you're gonna tuck your left leg in closer to your chest, even beyond your right knee, and then send it back to extension. Kick and drive. Pull and tuck. Reach back strong. Pull it in. You just have two more. Think of your right foot trying to pull to the back of the mat. That'll give you more hamstrings. Can you do one more? Kick. Pull and then stand up. Stand on your right leg. Cross figure four. Sit back any amount. Pull your hip creases into your body towards the back wall. Arms can do whatever. Breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2. The transition is to lift this left leg up, step it back, open, side lunge left. Now these are our two movements. Side lunge left, back to the front, figure four cross. The right foot really doesn't change too much. Left leg back and open. You might have to pivot your toes in your side lunge and then bring it back to a forward facing figure four. Stay low. At least 2 more times if possible. Last one after this one. After you reach that final figure four stretch, stand all the way up with 2 feet firmly rooted. Open up the front of your hips by squeezing your glutes. Think of a handstand in reverse. Nice long lines. Forward fold over your legs. Hang out here for a bit, or if you'd like that vinyasa, it's all yours. We're going to meet with the left leg ahead, the right knee under the hip, 90-90 low lunge. Right arm will raise and reach. Make sure that that right thigh is vertical. Take a side bend left. Side bend right. Pelvis stays level. Really push into your left heel. Overhead stretch. Cactus your arms, a little back bend. Reach up with your arms and then take any position, forward, sideways, behind you. Tuck your back toes, lift your knee like you're gonna fly out of this lunge anytime. And then you're pulling it to the warrior three. Extend first with that right leg. Keep your left leg bent like a squat. Tuck your right knee. Try to bring it as close to your sternum as you can. Don't change the left leg, just the right leg moving for 4. Last 3. Last 2. Last 1. Really push through your heel. And then step it back, open to that right side lunge. Pivot your toes. Rise back up, left toes turn forward, figure 4, crossover. Whoa. This side is not gonna go as well, I think. Focus. Side lunge to standing figure 4 with a squat. I may have missed something, I'm not sure. But we're gonna roll with it for now since we're into it. Since this is my weak side, I'm actually gonna do more of these. If at any time you get tired of it, you know you can be done when you're done. Try to maintain a pretty deep squat on the left leg as you come into that figure 4. I think I've got 2 more in me before I fall apart. We're choosing Tadasana to finish off that last figure 4 standing, just so that we can once again connect to full hip extension. Fire the glutes, raise the arms, standing on your feet in a handstand. Fold down over your legs, hands to blocks optionally. Step your left leg back for a pyramid. So that left foot might bump to the left, toes on a diagonal. Balance your pelvis best you can. The spine can stay halfway, or you can continue to fold over your right leg any amount. Okay, so the transition, for some of you, you might want to block. We're going to wind up on the left toes, so just shift and lift your left heel up, bend into your left knee, drop it down, and then maybe a yoga block goes where your right bum will sit down towards the floor into like a half virasana. So left heel, or maybe 2 blocks. If this feels too deep, you can put 2 blocks underneath your right side. So there's lots of things you could do here with your spine. You could add in some rotation. Either way, I'm just gonna fold forward and get a nice posterior chain stretch. There could be a hint of a twist towards the pinky toe side of your right foot. Now I have a fun transition for you here. We're going to rebend the front leg, plant the foot, so your right knee is just in a neutrally bent position. You're going to try to make this right leg your foundation. Come off of your heel, standing into tree pose. Pull your left leg anywhere along the right inner thigh. You could actually be at the knee, provided that feels okay. And then if you want to get a little fancy with your tree pose today, you could try one of 2 things. You could take a side bend towards your bent leg side, or you could close your eyes or one eye. Counting down from 10, 9, 6, 3, 2, Tadasana, 2 feet anchored. Raise your arms, inhale. Exhale, hinge and fold. Maybe the blocks. We're taking our pyramid now. The right leg will step back and out to the right a smidge. The transition will be to lift your right heel, shift forward into your left leg a little bit, step your right foot back further, and then lower your knee. 1 or 2 blocks go under your left seat. Sit back and straighten out your left leg. Side bending, twisting, or that forward hinge to create a little bit of a back body stretch all the way throughout. Just having the leg straight in itself is a hamstring stretch. The hinging forward is more about stretching through the spine. Rise up out of your fold if you're there. Rebend your left leg, plant your foot, so that's part of your strong foundation. As you push from the back side, you're going to get the weight in the left foot, find that tree pose. Take your time to make sure it feels about right. Stand up tall through the crown of your head. Option to side bend or close one or both eyes. We've got 10. Last 5. Find your Tadasana. Let your arms rest by your sides. Maybe now we close the eyes if they were still open. We'll just take a few recovery breaths. Okay. Last little bit here, standing. Coming into the home stretch. Turn open towards the long side of your mat. I'm turning to the left. And we're going to find a shortened warrior 2. So pivot so that your right toes are facing forward. Bend your right knee, but then heel to your left foot so that there isn't a whole lot of distance between your feet. So your left foot needs to be in neutral because that's where we're going to wind up balancing on this left leg. Here's how it's going to go. You're going to lunge any amount forward into that right knee so that you can get a little bit of a push. And then try to balance your way into tree pose, placing a right foot on the inside of the left leg. And then stepping out, finding that shortened warrior 2, push off, float. It's also okay to kind of drag that right foot back on your mat if you can't quite get the hang time. Let's try for 3 more. Short warrior 2, tree on the left. Land light on the ball of your foot, and then help to push off the heel as well. If you think of pushing on a gas pedal, that right foot, that helps. Last one to tree for 5, 4, 3. We're going to stay facing the side of the mat, and now we're going to circle the right hip. This is our last time through hip cars, 3 in each direction. Try not to tip the pelvis or open it to the side. That's the tricky part. Last revolution. And then just stand down, Tadasana, facing the side of your mat. Take a big reach overhead, grow a little taller. Forward fold, stay facing this direction. Stretch the back side. Halfway lift on an inhale. Exhale, fold it. Rise to stand. And all we're going to do from here is now pivot so that we're in the shortened warrior 2 with the left toes facing the back of our mat. Right leg, check to see that the toes are pretty straight ahead of the heel. Let your arms help you in whatever way they need to. Bend deeply, push off with the ball of your foot. Find the tree, even if it's just a light touch. You wouldn't even have to touch your foot, right? You could keep that left leg floating. Responsive core. I'm using my arms a little bit on this one. Try for 2 to 3 more. Oh. And then you're going to stick your tree pose as best you can. Just for a breath or 2, recalibrate, set your gaze in one spot. 3 hip cars, left leg. In both directions. So a total of 6. That might not have been clear. Beautiful. Stand down, raise your arms. You're still facing the side. Forward fold. Strengthen and lengthen halfway up. Fold back. Rise to stand, reach. On hands to your heart, close your eyes for a moment. And then we'll come back to our home base position, facing forward, top of the mat. Toes out, heels in. Slow elevator squat down to the basement. See if you can let your knees travel forward a ways before you start tipping your trunk forward. So really heavy in the heels. Your blocks are there, so if you'd rather just sit your squat on a block or 2, that's cool. If you're in a position where your arms can connect with your inner legs, squeeze your legs gently into your arms, gradually ramping up the effort so that it feels really strong. Keep your arms in the same position. Try to pull your legs outward off of your arms for 5. Come back to the squeeze. Widen your arms a little bit. Your legs are in a new position probably after that. Pull legs into arms, arms push back. One last time, try to float your legs off of your arms out to the sides. Good. And then from here, we're just taking it to the floor. So it may not be a graceful transition, it's fine. Sit on back. Straighten your legs. We're going to pull into a hamstring stretch in this right side. So your leg does not have to be perfectly straight. You could hold the back of your thigh. You could straighten your leg and hold your shin or your ankle or even your big toe. The left leg is just going to stay where it is for now. And we're going to try to maintain a pretty upright back position. It is okay if you tip back a little bit. Breathe. Try to keep your leg in the same spot. If possible, we're taking away the arms for 5. When you hold your leg this time, try to hold the outside edge with your left hand. Swim your right arm back behind you, turn your chest open to the right side. If you want to test out that right hip again, you can let go of the leg and hold it with your hip for 3, 2, reverse out, both legs down, reverse tabletop, or reverse plank with straight legs, your choice. Fingers can turn any direction. Push from the seat. Come on down. Right leg will rest all the way down. Find your upright back chair in your spine. Hold your left leg. So I said this was a hamstring stretch. That might have been a little bit of a fib. It's more of a hip flexor practice. But you are getting a little hamstring stretch, especially if you really pull that leg in closer to you. Those high hamstrings. And then float it. 5, 4, 3, 2, rescue. Right hand to the left foot or leg, twist open to the left. You can once again come into that active position by letting go for 3, 2, and then relax down with your feet. One more time, the reverse plank or the reversed table. Connect to the strength of your posterior chain all throughout. And then find one forward bend. You can take the legs wide. You could bend your knees. You could butterfly your legs. Connect to the hip creases and try to deepen them as you send your spine forward and then down. Just a couple more breaths. And then take your own transition to the floor, either through roll down or just coming back. Let's have a bridge pose today. Set your feet how you want them. Try to press your low back down first so you're finding that tuck under with your whole pelvis. The tailbone will curl. Peel your spine up one segment at a time. To connect more to your hamstrings, find that energetic pull, heels towards your body. Take it back to the floor. We're going to stretch our right leg up for a moment. So kicking straight over your hip. And then with your left leg, lift it, keep your knee bent, angle your left knee out on a diagonal, curl up, and try to hold the top of your left foot with your right hand. And then squeeze your heel towards your seat. As you bring your whole lower body to the floor, that left leg will open up like tree pose with your foot tucked under your thigh. And then you can just release your arms anywhere. Rebend your right leg and plant your foot. And then cross your left ankle over your right thigh. You could just keep your figure four grounded or thread the needle if you like that better. Take both legs up and give them just a light shimmy shake and the rotation of your hips in and out. And then we'll keep the left leg vertical. Bend your right knee, angle it off to the side. Left hand tries to get a hold of the top of the right foot, and then we ground everything. Take up some space with your arms and your breath. Rebend your left leg, plant your foot firmly. Bring that right leg around to the front and cross over for that figure four stretch one last time. Guiding your right leg out to the side even more to maximize that outer hip stretch. And then maybe there's something you could do to finalize your practice, especially paying attention again to the area around your pelvis, your thigh bones, that hip joint. Maybe looking there first to see what might satisfy you. And then we're going to take a rest. Build your body into a shape that feels like effortlessness. Monitor your breath for a few rounds. invite in a shift of that so it feels a little bit more soothing. And we'll just let it flow. Body heavy, thoughts and breath are light. Sense just a hovering awareness. Continue to rest your physical body and bring your attention to that middle pelvis area. Pelvis like a bowl. Sense the front side and the back side of that area. And sweep your attention around to your hip joint. And all the way around to the back side, where your thigh connects to your seat, and give your glutes a little squeeze there. Continue to hug your glutes as you press your heels into the ground and think of dragging them back towards your bum. And then relax. We'll do that a couple more times. Glute squeeze, heels press, and try to pull. And relax. One more time, contract, relax. And then you could have a little stretch with your arms overhead, or you could bring yourself into a little ball. Just move around in whatever way feels natural for you. Maybe there's no rhyme or reason to it. Wipers might feel good. Perhaps you want to lay on your side momentarily. Take all the time you need here. I'd like to thank you all for showing up today, doing this good work with me. Hopefully your hips are feeling amazing, and it's likely you might be feeling things tomorrow as well. And that's just a sign of your commitment and your effort. So rejoice in that when it comes. Thanks for being here. Namaste.